Walt Disney's Disneyland.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are.
Each week as you enter this timeless land, one of these many worlds will open to you. Frontierland. Tall tales and true from the legendary past. Tomorrowland. Promise of things to come. Adventureland. The wonder world of nature's own realm. Fantasyland. The happiest kingdom of them all. Monsters of the Deep. And now, your host, Walt Disney.
Down through the years, monsters have played many leading parts in our pictures. So many, in fact, that we've had to devote this entire room in our research department to the subject. Later on, you're going to meet two of our star performers. Monstro the whale from the story of Pinocchio, and the giant squid from our feature production, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But first, let's talk about monsters in general and sea monsters in particular. Suppose we begin with monsters of the past, the dinosaurs of prehistory. Of course, they were not actually sea monsters. For the most part, dinosaurs were amphibious. But because they were the first real monsters on Earth, they do have a part in our story. It's a common belief that all dinosaurs were enormous, but actually they ranged in size from a few inches to 90 feet. Here's one about as big as a house cat. It says here that it's a compsognathus. It's a dinosaur. This one's a good deal larger, commonly called the thunder lizard. He was 60 feet long and weighed 40 tons, but he had some first cousins even bigger than that. We told the story of these dinosaurs, large and small, in Fantasia. The Diplodocus and the Brontosaurus were so huge they could hardly support their own weight on land. So they lived in the lakes and lagoons of the primeval swamps. This was a time when even the bird life was monstrous. The pterodactyls, for example, were actually flying reptiles with a 20-foot wingspread. They were fish eaters, and in turn were preyed upon by the marine mosasaur. This is the Stegosaurus, one of the many land dinosaurs. They came in every size and description. Some were vegetarians. But there were flesh eaters among the dinosaurs too. Now, the word dinosaur means terrible lizard, and by far the most terrible of all was a Tyrannosaurus rex. It was over 200 million years ago that these great reptiles vanished from the earth. Or did they? Because here's living proof that monsters, just like the dinosaur, still exist in the world today. These are the marine iguanas found only in the Galapagos Islands. This film, by the way, was taken by our true life adventure photographers. The marine iguana is a modern-day dinosaur. He's about 4 feet long, smaller than the largest of his ancestors, but still, he's bigger than the smallest dinosaur. Isolated here in the Pacific Ocean with no natural enemies and a plentiful supply of seaweed for food, the marine iguana has flourished for millions of years. Now, it seems reasonable if one isolated species can survive through the ages. Why not another? Why not, for instance, sea serpents? Now, this is the question that people have been arguing through the centuries. Do they or do they not exist? Well, certainly there have been enough eyewitnesses who said that they do. In fact, the legend of the sea serpent is as old as history itself. The ancient Egyptians recorded on papyrus this encounter with the sea serpent. The Vikings built their ships in the form of sea serpents. Perhaps they got the idea from something that they'd seen in their wanderings. The early map makers populated the unexplored areas of their maps with these fantastic creatures. Here's more of the same. And so, if Christopher Columbus believed in signs and used these charts, he might well have expected to meet up with the sea serpent himself. Well, of course, there's no evidence that Columbus did see a sea serpent, but just 50 years later, there was a certain Swedish archbishop who reported sighting a 200-foot monster in the North Sea. In 1600, another clergyman described this sea serpent. And here's still another, an eyewitness sketch of a monster as long as a ship. This illustration appeared in the London News in 1848. A sea monster seen in the South Atlantic. Here's a page from a ship's log describing an 80-foot serpent seen in 1893. And as recently as 1947, the steamer Santa Clara reported cutting a snake-like creature in two, its estimated length 35 feet. And here's a photograph of the famous Loch Ness Monster of Scotland. However, scientists say this is the dorsal fin of a killer whale. In our files, we have hundreds of sketches, eyewitness accounts and photographs, all attesting to the existence of a sea serpent. But we've only scratched the surface. Science, with the aid of the diving bell, has gone much deeper into the subject. 13,300 feet deeper, to be exact. Now, at this depth, the most powerful light and the most sensitive camera can't see more than a few feet from the viewport. But even at such a short range, science has discovered many new and fantastic varieties of marine life. These dwellers in darkness carry their own illumination, tiny spots of the cold light produced only by nature. From netted specimens of these creatures and from the observations of scientists, our artists have been able to draw aside the black curtain of the ocean deeps and recreate some of the strange life forms that exist here. Saber-toothed viperfish, the anglerfish, a fish that fishes with a built-in lure, the deep-sea jellyfish called Medusa, delicate but deadly, the silver hatchet fish. Now, these creatures are relatively small. Some measure in inches. Marine biologists, however, concede that a much larger species, in fact, the legendary sea serpent itself, may actually live in some unknown ocean deep. But scientists are pretty hard to convince. And until someone actually comes up with a real live specimen, the case for sea serpents is inconclusive and incomplete. many monsters of the deep, of course. And one in particular is just as fascinating as the legendary sea serpent, and that is the giant squid. Many years ago, Jules Verne was ridiculed for putting such a fantastic creature in his novel, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But today we know that the giant squid does exist, and he's every bit as villainous and fantastic as Verne described him. Our file on the squid begins very much like the sea serpent file, with eyewitness accounts. 1861, the French corvette Electon reports killing the giant squid with cannon fire. A few years later, a Captain Jean Dens tells of a squid seizing a member of his crew. 1873, fishermen battle a giant squid and chop off one of the tentacles. We have many such unconfirmed reports, but now our case for the giant squid gains weight, the weight of physical evidence. Exhibit A is the squid's mortal enemy, the whale. Many seafaring men have reported witnessing scenes like this, a titanic struggle between these two monsters of the deep. And yet these stories sound unbelievable. After all, whales run up to 90 feet in length and weigh upwards of 100 tons. Is there anything on Earth or under the sea big enough to tangle with a fellow like this? The answer is definitely yes. For whales have been caught bearing the imprint of giant suction cups, and in their bellies, beaks from the giant squids have been found. Now here's a photograph of one. A squid reconstructed from this beak would measure 38 feet, but we don't have to rely on guesswork. All the theories about the giant squid were proven once and for all when one was caught alive in Trinity Bay, Newfoundland. Its body measured 9½ feet. And here's a photograph of one tentacle which was preserved in a museum. It's 30 feet long. This enormous tentacle, by the way, could explain a lot of things, like sea serpents and such. Let's take this picture of one of the sea serpents we showed you a while back and superimpose our giant squid. See what happens? Here's an eyewitness drawing of a sea serpent fighting a whale. But was it really this? In other words, whenever there's talk of sea serpents, it might be well to look for a giant squid. And that's exactly what we had to do when we decided to bring Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea to the screen. Now, of course, we couldn't capture and train the real article, so we decided we'd have to build a giant squid. But before we talk about our full-scale version of this fellow, let's clear up once and for all the difference between a squid and an octopus. Many people confuse the two. The octopus is comparatively harmless, has a soft, almost shapeless body, 8 tentacles, and spends most of its time crawling about on the ocean floor. Its movements are rather slow, at least compared to the squid's. We're told that when a squid grasps his prey, its tentacles move faster than anything in nature, faster even in the flick of a lizard's tongue. This is a very small specimen, by the way, but physically he's exactly like his colossal cousin, the giant squid. A long cigar-shaped body, 10 tentacles, 2 long ones for catching its victim, 8 others to grasp it and hold it while it tears it apart with its beak. So between the two, the squid and the octopus, it's the squid who's the real villain. In fact, Peter Lorre, who plays a very sympathetic role in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, claims that the squid got the role that's usually reserved for him. Now, to construct our squid, we had to first have a plan. So we laid out these scale drawings with the aid of technical directors and then animated its movements forward and backward. The squid used a different propelling force for each direction. Forward, he swims slowly by means of the large fins on the sides of his body. But when he wants to go places in a hurry, he shifts into reverse and original jet propulsion. He does this by swallowing water and forcing it through a propelling tube located under his mouth. He uses this same tube to shoot out a smokescreen of sepia ink. As a matter of fact, It's the same ink used in making these drawings. Now, the best of plans are only beginning. It's the result that counts. So now let's see that result. Let's move over on the 20,000 league set and meet this giant squid in person. Kirk Douglas will handle the introductions. But first, he has a whale of a tale to tell.
Got a whale of a tale to tell you, lads, a whale of a tale or two, about the flapping fish and the girls I've loved on nights like this with the moon above. A whale of a tale, and it's all true, I swear by my tattoo. There was Mermaid Minnie, met her down in Madagascar. She would kiss me anytime that I would ask her. Then one evening, her flame of love blew out. Blow me down and pick me up, she swapped me for a trout. Got a whale of a tale to tell you, lads, a whale of a tale or two, about the flapping fish and the girls I've loved on nights like this with the moon above. A whale of a tale, and it's so true, I swear by my tattoo. There was Typhoon Tessie, met her on the coast of Java. When we kissed, I bubbled up like molten lava. Then she gave me the scare of my young life. Blow me down and pick me up, she was the captain's wife. Got a whale of a tale to tell you, lads, a whale of a tale or two, about the flapping fish and the girls I've loved on nights like this with the moon above. A whale of a tale, and it's all true, I swear by my tattoo.
Cut it. Thank you, gentlemen. Take us down.
Rosie, how high up are the jacks?
Start gathering up the equipment for a move, boys.
A whale of a tale to tell you, lads. Hello. You know, this has been quite a picture for me. I've never been braver. I fight sharks, cannibals, giant squid, women. But the bravest thing I do is to open my mouth and sing. Believe me, with a voice like mine, it takes a lot of courage. Prop man. I won't break it. Always afraid I'm going to break something. You know, it's been an exciting experience here in Disneyland, where a wooden puppet called Pinocchio turns into a human. Peter Pan teaches children to fly. But my greatest thrill in this land of miracles was actually walking along the floor of the ocean with Captain Nemo and the crew of the Nautilus. Whew, what an experience. Oh, this is interesting. I want you to see this. Rosie, would you mind placing that against the ship for a minute?
You bet. Over here, Marty.
You see, everything's different here. Now, every other picture I've worked in, you could tuck the script under your arm and walk home. But here, oh no. It takes two men to carry a single page. Really. Look. It's what you might call a king-size comic strip. After Dick, our director, lays out the action, the artist sketched the whole script with these drawings. Now, this is the squid fight that you're going to see. Oh. Quite a monster, huh? Now, just before this scene, I've been down in the glory hole.
Kirk, we're ready.
All right, I'll be right with you. I want to explain to the people. There's been a tremendous explosion.
We're lined up and waiting.
All right. I'll be right there.
We're waiting.
Clock watcher. I'm sorry, I'd like to tell you more about this, but I can't hold up production. Well, I've got an idea. Hey, Peter.
Huh?
Come over here, will you?
What is it, Kirk?
Listen, would you do me a favor? You all know Mr. Peter Lorre, a fine actor.
Yes, but I can't sing.
Uh-huh. I knew we had something in common. Listen, Pete, I've got to go over to stage 3. Would you tell these people more about the squid fight?
But I'm not in this fight. You know, I'd much rather tell them about the scene with our fight.
No,
you know,
there's
when
no
I
time
draw
for that,
back.
Peter. Mr. Disney's orders.
Oh, well, all right.
Thanks. And, I'll see you later.
But Paul Lucas and I, we're not in this fight. I still think I'd rather tell you about...
Peter!
All right. Well, before the giant squid attacks, there's an underwater explosion on a submarine. And because of that, the power goes off. So Captain Nemo, that's James Mason, Captain Nemo orders the submarine to surface. And now, Up from the murky deeps rise the most horrible, the most dreaded of all sea monsters, the giant squid. There's no escape for the disabled submarine, and no escape for Nemo and his crew either. Now they must fight it out, man to beast. Well, that'll give you a small idea. I'm sure that you'll want to see the whole story in a theater for yourself. One thing I must say, it's by far the most exciting picture I've ever worked in. Oh, I can hardly wait to see myself. So, if in the audience you happen to sit next to someone that's killing himself with delight, don't get scared. Could be me.
In our private collection of sea monsters, the one that looms the largest of all is Monstro the whale from our story, Pinocchio. And we thought it fitting to reserve this last act for him. Of course, we haven't time to tell you the whole story of Pinocchio, but we've asked a little friend of ours to remind you of some of the details leading up to Monstro's appearance. And here he is, our master of ceremonies, Jiminy Cricket.
When your heart is in your dreams.
Look for Walt Disney's fall cartoon feature, The Wonderful Adventures of Pinocchio, now playing at your favorite theater. And for one of the most exciting evenings you have ever spent, join the thousands who are now thrilling to Walt Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. If it has not yet arrived at your favorite theater, watch for it. It will be your mightiest motion picture experience of the year. Walt Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Coming up next inside Walt Disney, catch a classic episode of Zorro. Then stay tuned for the Mickey Mouse Club, right here on Disney. Coming up next inside